water. So to summarize, food, the size of food that's considered significant is a dried fig. No matter how many bits and pieces of food you scratch together, if you add up that dried fig, that's significant. You don't count the peels, the pits, or the bran. Although if a poor man makes whole wheat bread, then he has to take challah from that. That's because he makes the bread like that. But if the regular person is carrying it, and the bran is not counted, and therefore he's not chayiv. Rabbi Yehuda says that lentils, you do count their peels, their pods, because you cook it with it. In a brisa, he says you also count the peels, the pods of beans. But in the Mishnah, he doesn't mention it because if it's dried, you wouldn't cook it with the peels because it'll make black dots and it'll look like flies. Then regarding liquids, so the general rule for liquids, for drinkable liquids, is a revius, or even for dirty liquids, as we'll see, that is also a revius, with exceptions. Wine is an exception because you mix a quarter of wine to 3/4 of water, so a quarter of a revius is enough, which that's the amount that we'd use for kois shel bracha, which is a kois yofe, kois of benching, which has to be a nice cup. You put in a quarter of wine, a quarter of a revius of wine, and the rest of water. And that's according to Rava, but that's what we're holding right now. Milk, the amount that you take a sip, let's say a cheekful, because that's something which you do with milk. Honey, besides eating it, you smear it on wounds. It's a much smaller amount of animal wounds. Oil, you moisturize the skin, so you would put it on the smallest limb of a person, the smallest limb of an infant. So that's also significant. Water, although you drink, but you would also smear it on the eye patch. It's a small amount of water, so it's very significant, that amount. Those are the exceptions. Reb Shimon says, no, every liquid Yomi chayiv take a revius. All the exceptions are said, although there was an old Mishnah recorded, all those exceptions were said for someone who puts them aside, because Reb Shimon holds, even if you put them aside, they have to be significant. They can't be the smallest amount. So which amount is it? These smaller sizes. But a regular person taking out any liquid says Reb Shimon is a revius, but Tanakama says no. These smaller measurements were said for everyone, and if someone puts them aside, even the smallest amount is already.